And let's chat a little bit about this with political scientist Professor Dirk Kotze, just on this outcome. I believe, Professor, it probably has to be one of the worst kept secrets, but it is now official. Your thoughts on Helen Zille's candidacy?
Yes, good morning. I think this is, as you say, has been expected. But still, it was an important decision because he is the chair of the Federal Council, and both of them will be permanent positions, so she can't do both. She will have to move away as the chairperson of the Federal Council. For what the announcement is, and it's very dramatic the way in which she presented it, but that's typical Helen Zille. And I think this is the real hard push from the side of the DA now to say, well, they want to make a breakthrough when it comes to the metros in Gauteng specifically. In 2016, they also, for the first time, were in a much stronger position than in the past when the ANC lost the outright majorities in the metros in Gauteng. But since then, and especially since last year's election, there was a pushback from the ANC side. So I think this is now for the DA, and given where the ANC stands, and there's expectations that they might lose substantial support next year, that they want to go for the best possible option, and that is clearly Helen Zille.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you put it in that way, that it's the DA acting out of fear that they could lose some of the voters. But many think that perhaps maybe this move could perhaps be scaring or posing a danger to the ANC and other parties. Do you think that perhaps now the reaction from the other parties is one of maybe even fear, given the fact that they've really brought out one of the biggest guns in the political party?
Yes, I think that the DA has now set the standard, and that is to bring in a national person in the position as a candidate for the mayoral position. So it is very much now in the hands of the other main parties. That's the ANC, the EFF, Action SA, and so on, which are the main parties in Johannesburg specifically, to decide whether they want to use a local person or a person of a national stature in order to stand against Helen Zille. Because that is, I think, what is the strategy of the DA, is that they start early and they start to dictate the rules of the game, specifically in Johannesburg. And I think it started today.
And we know that the city of Johannesburg is in need of radical change when it comes to its political leadership. We heard as well Helen Zille, they're speaking about that the city of Johannesburg is a devastating example of what happens when you've got bad governance to good people. What kind of leadership strategy should the DA and specifically Helen Zille be coming with when it comes to turning around the city of Johannesburg? They spoke about specifically those issues of service delivery, from water, potholes, electricity, and that, of course, growing unemployment rate.
Yes, I think, well, she has to a large extent already set out now the agenda, and what it clearly will be her priorities if she's elected as the mayor. And it is, I think, what most people, residents in Johannesburg, are asking for, and what are their main daily experiences, and the turnaround that's necessary for Johannesburg. It's obviously not only Johannesburg, but it has become so pronounced, and because of the economic role of Johannesburg in terms of the national economy, as well as now the fact that we are not very far away from the G20 summit, which means that Johannesburg is also playing an international role or a global role, representing and reflecting South Africa to a large extent. The fact that the main entry point into South Africa, our Tambo airport, is in Johannesburg. These are all factors that really all accumulate and demonstrate what is the importance and why Helen Zille has been identified by the DA. She is, of course, a person who comes from Johannesburg. She has been now for a long time in Cape Town, but she is a person who understands and has grown up in Johannesburg and understands it. So it's not that she's been imposed from outside really on the city.
Yeah, and we spoke a little bit about this when you mentioned the Federal Council. Now that she's officially been nominated as the mayoral candidate, what does this mean in her role in the Federal Council?
Well, the DA is going to have their Federal Congress, similar to the ANC's National Conference, in April next year. At least that's been planned like that. So it means that all the positions must be elected or re-elected at that Federal Congress, including this position of the chairperson of the Federal Council. So it is either that she waits until then and then does not stand again, or that then she will resign earlier and an acting person will have to be appointed. But as I've indicated earlier on, that's a permanent position. It is like the Secretary General of the DA. It's a full-time job, and she won't be able to do both. Even the campaigning during the course of next year will become a full-time task for her. So she won't be able to continue doing both, even up to April, I would say.
Yeah, and just a final question. At the age of 74, does Helen Zille still have the drive essentially to fix the issues in the city of Johannesburg? We know that there were some other younger candidacies there, or candidates rather, that were put forward by the DA, just in regards to her vigor in terms of taking on this massive task of leading the city of Johannesburg.
Yes, I agree with you that age might become an issue ultimately, but it's like looking at President Trump. One doesn't understand where he gets the energy from, and she's exactly the same. She is outperforming people who are much younger than her very much. So I think age at this point in time might not play such an important role. She clearly still has the commitment and the vigor and the energy in order to do this type of work.